talk a lot about the ethics and the environmental impacts that the farm will have, but there's also a business side to all of this, and investors can get involved in various different ways. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How does the farm make money? How does it make a return to investors, and how does it grow?
Okay, so there's a lot of ways. Of course, it's a dynamic farm. It's got a lot of different products. We've identified, I'll just talk about this farm in particular. Now it'll change depending on where you go. We have wetland and we've got highland. And so on the highland we've got, of course, crops and animal systems. And in the wetland we've got the concept of doing fish farms. Now we haven't installed them yet, but the fish farms would be on the banks of the river. And if they're well managed, that's a very lucrative system. So if we put in 20 fish ponds, producing roughly 1,000 plus fish every 6 months, we can produce between $400,000 to $800,000 a year. That's USD. Another key system, I think this is really the core system, is of course the forest. This is sort of where I intend on really enticing a lot of investors to take a look at this system, because if you invest in 100 acres or roughly 300,000 craftwood trees, these are things for telephone poles and construction markets, you can produce about $4 to $8 million in 8 years from those trees. And that's an investment where, as long as you are able to take care of your staff, which is what this system does, because they're living in a robust foodscape, then those trees will also be taken care of, and that's all on contract. So we have this really nice system that we're working out on this pilot farm, whereby the investor is getting 100% of those trees. Those are his trees or her trees. They're long term. And then all the other systems which are producing, like the moringa, we've got chilies. These are all very lucrative systems. We've got the bees creating honey, and we're also exploiting them for bee venom, which is a very harmless, just for all you bee lovers out there, it's a very harmless process of agitating the hive. They sting a piece of glass and we scrape it off. We can produce about $18,000 a month from 500 hives on a rotation of venom collection. That's a really nice, again, another speculative market that we're trying to work out. Then there's your vegetables. Now your vegetables and your small animal systems like chickens and stuff, those are more just for the staff feeding and for the lifestyle, and for feeding to the animals as well. Any vegetables which are not marketable, we give it to the pigs, we give it to the cows, and so on. So goats, pigs, cows, of course. We would have rabbits. I'd like to be doing turkeys. And really the idea is that the sky is the limit. We've identified cherry tomatoes are another good crop. You can get about $4 for a small bunch like this in the local markets here. And then we're also looking at different types of aromatic herbs. We can produce different types of teas. But the core money-making businesses is honey, fish, chilies, and I would say pigs are another really big one. And so even just with one of those working, we cover all of our costs, and we create this beautiful Garden of Eden lifestyle for our employees. Then you add on the forest, and now you've got your multi-million-dollar investment, and it's secure. And it's more secure than if you were to go the traditional route where you're just paying people a bare minimum wage. They're just out there clearing the field day in and day out, and they don't really have any connection to those trees. They don't really have any connection to that farm, because you're just the landlord paying the serfs. Whereas in this sense, on the Priceless Farms model, you're the investor. You are paying the employees, but they're incorporated into the creation of a dynamic lifestyle. So they get their own housing areas, and they build their own houses, and they have their own gardens, and they have their own animals, and they have their own crops that they are taking care of. And there's a profit sharing structure. I don't want to get into it, but there's a profit sharing structure there, kind of like an algorithm that we can stamp out to multiple farms to grow this company out into hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of farms, and utilize the capital income and the capital savings from that, kind of like a treasury, if you will, to then further expand and speed up the process of what is regreening the entire planet. Because If I have 100 acres on the Priceless Farms model, 75 acres will be completely forested with a mixed exotic, craft, medicinal, and fruit trees. And when those forests come up, like you're seeing here, you're just starting to see the very beginnings. We're only in month 7 of an extremely damaged landscape. Well, 3 years from now, in the tropical environment, this is going to be a high standing forest. It's going to be about 20 feet, 30 feet of growth behind me. 1/4 of those trees are going to be fruit trees. You can imagine the volumes of fruits that are going to be coming out. There's going to be so much food coming out of these landscapes because we're not just growing along a linear landscape. We're not just looking at the land itself. We're also looking at the space, all this space, aerial space above it. And that's really the mentality of a food forester. That's the mentality of what I would say is a jungle farmer. It's a very, very productive system.
Let's talk a little bit more about, you have the farmers on the land, they have their own environment that they take care of, and they're the stewards of these forests. And so let's talk about those forests, because that's the long-term investment that I think a lot of investors would be interested in. And you're talking about developing a program called Ventree, and can you tell us a little bit about how that works using online systems and those types of things to really make it easy for people to invest?
So talking about how people can invest, well, there's so many different ways, but there's really just kind of two. You can directly invest and start your own farm by being a primary investor and starting a new company. So you say, I want a farm like this. Okay, well, put the money into an account, get the company going, and we'll come in and we'll install and design it up, and all the contracts will be there. The other way, now that's a very slow way to develop a company with the modern technology that's available to us today. The other way that I'm proposing to the world is that we create an online platform in the palm of your hands. It would be an online application where everybody in the world can invest in these trees. And so rather than getting into the nitty-gritty details of all the different ins and outs of what it takes to run this farm, you can just say, I want to invest in trees. You load up your money on your account and you buy trees as they become available. And those trees get planted in a ratio. Every tree that you buy, we plant 4 extra for you. And this is a system of sharing. So 2 of them go to the farmer, 1 of them goes to the consultant who's responsible for managing and maintaining those plantations, and the other one comes to the company itself that's managing all of this. This is the concept of Ventree. This is an online app to allow the entire world to invest in sustainable reforestation. This is not just monoculturing, massive pine plantations and massive eucalyptus plantations. This is the concept of having essentially a jungle creation platform. And if you look at that ratio, so if you buy a tree for $1 and I plant 5 trees for that same $1, your tree is secured. The entire Ventree platform is secured by 4 extra trees for every 1 tree that's available. And if you can hold on to those trees, let's say you buy 1,000 trees, so that's $1,000. Well, that's 5,000 trees in the ground. Now, 2 of them go to the farmer. I know I'm reiterating myself, but it's important for you to understand this. So actually, you're promoting and giving 2 trees to these impoverished communities to say, hey, here's 2 trees for you. Take care of my 1. Another one goes to the manager. This is a person who has been trained very heavily in how to utilize the app, how to create and mold the farmers so that they understand very clearly what the responsibilities are, and also how to inject and feed these trees and keep them going. This really comes down to the landscape design and also the contracts. And then the 5th one goes to Ventree. So in order for your tree to be impacted, the company would have to lose all the other 4,000 trees before your tree would be impacted. But you can understand it's kind of like a bank in the sense that all of these trees, we're never going to lose that many trees. You might lose 20% of one plantation here, another plantation might lose 3%. So as the company grows, the idea is that we have this massive online bank of financials which have been invested into real tangible forests that are being cared for by real tangible people. And you can actually see where these plantations are. There's quarterly counts of the trees coming out, and any trees which are not there get replanted. and we use that capital to reinvest. So the one tree which goes to the company, Ventree, to the app, gets re-injected back in through bonus structures. So we can give out gifts and we can reinvest those trees back in. And the point here is that the farmers who are taking care of those trees are doing this system. They're still growing vegetables. They still have their cows and their goats and their chickens and their fish ponds. They're still living a wonderful lifestyle because this app is basically enabling them. Your investment is enabling local farmers to get the capital upstart to do their farm, to create their farm. And it's creating that relationship between a professionally trained farm designer, farm manager, and the locals. And that's you. In this sense, when you buy, $100 worth of trees, you're investing in the future of the world. You're investing in these trees. And just to give you an idea of what this is like, just to take eucalyptus, because it's a very big industry, the numbers are very hard with eucalyptus. $1 eucalyptus tree, you buy it as a seedling, we plant it. In 8 years, that eucalyptus tree is worth anywhere between $30 to $40. And that's current markets. So if you have 100 trees, that's $4,000 at the end of an 8-year period. That's $100 to $4,000 in 8 years. Now, do you have to wait that 8 years in order to get your money out? No, because this is an online trading application, and the growth rates of the trees are very accurately displayed. So you might get to year 3, and each of your trees is worth $3 to $4. It's an exponential growth. So $3 to $4 in the first 3 years. By the 6th year, it's worth $25. Well, you can sell out. So you can sell your trees at a $3 rate. You've tripled your money, and you can sell it to somebody who's willing to buy them at $3, knowing that they're further along the growth rate, right? And this creates a whole community of online. What I would say, you're becoming a tree trader, and every time those plantations get cut, the money which is made gets re-injected back in, gets given back out. But you're also able to get your money out from the next user who's coming in. It's a little bit to take in, but I believe it can work. And it requires, in order for this sort of an idea to work, it absolutely requires a very sophisticated, very practical, very easy to do system. And that is what we're doing with Priceless Farms, is we're creating a system that can enable everyone in the world to invest right on the click of your phone. That's really where I'm trying to go with this. Traditional investing is also very, very much welcome. I mean, I want to work with as many people as possible who want to have their own personal farm that they actually have a shareholding in. But through this concept of an application, you circumvent all the pitfalls of having to start your own business. And so this really puts reforestation into the masses. It kind of gives the power back to the people, so to speak. And in this way, when you start to plug in things like carbon credits, you can start to see a prolific wealth creation. And I would even say we're gonna cool the world down. This is how the human species can cool the world down. We can do the opposite of global warming. We can sequester all of that carbon, which is in the atmosphere. We can replenish all of those foodstuffs, which are right now lacking for so many communities. And particularly, this is working well in developing countries, in the tropical countries, where the growth rates are so fast. And, the seed stock is available. We've got enough seeds. Most of the seeds right now are just being neglected. I mean, I walk around any given day of the week, I'm passing about 1 million trees on the ground in the form of a seed that's just being neglected. Well, through this company, it's going to create the ideology in people to actually collect those seeds and say, hey, you know what, I've got a nursery. There's tens of thousands of nurseries throughout Africa, but a lot of them are suffering from the fact that there's not really a market right now. There's not really a driving force behind buying their trees. So some of these nurseries, they've got trees that are 2-3 years old, and it's very difficult to then plant those trees because they've rooted themselves in the nurseries. You've got to cut the taproot. Through this platform, my objective is there should never be a seedling that's not purchased when it's ready to go. And so we just create a relationship with these people who have nursery businesses, and before you know it, they have a guaranteed market. I walk up to a nursery, he's got 300,000 trees, I divide that by 5, put that number online, sell it within 10 minutes, the money comes through the accounts, I pay him on his cell phone, or her, on her cell phone, and that nursery becomes property of Ventree. and then I funnel that back onto land, actual properties that are leased and under legal agreements with the people that will be managing this system, and we go from there. We go from there. We can expand the jungle mass back to where it used to be, and then we can go even further. We can say, you know what? Let's go and take over the deserts. Let's replenish the deserts. All the techniques are there. We can do it. We can completely reforest the entire planet through this platform. And it's not a confusing situation. It's actually quite simple. It's very simple. And you're going to make a heck of a lot of money by investing in this. You're going to make more money than, I would say, any other business, because this is a business that replenishes the soils, replenishes our climate, replenishes our biodiversity, and replenishes dignity back into these communities which have suffered the woes of so many greedy systems coming in. I mean, you look at where Africa is today. It's not the Africans' fault, not entirely. This is a global human psychological problem that we're facing right now as a species. And this is one of those systems that I believe is going to take us into the next era of our race. An era that does not look like Mad Max. Because right now, there's a lot of Mad Max stuff going on. And we don't need to do that. We're a very sophisticated species. We've got all the technology. And better than that, we've got this planet which has this incredible design. And all we got to do is start reading into it. You know, read the design. Listen to Mother Nature. Look at the seeds on the ground. Look at the trees. Look at the animals. Look at the birds. Look at how they interact with us. And some people, when they hear me speak like that, they think, oh, this guy's a hippie. He's an airy-fairy hippie or whatever. But you know what? I'm a general of a new revolution. I'm a general of reforestation. I mean, this is no small thing. This is a war. And anybody who thinks, oh, you know, he's a tree hugger and all this stuff, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm a tree hugger. Because I like oxygen and I like rain, regular rain events, not these devastating massive storms, superstorms that we're getting. And we all need to be tree huggers. And we all need to revisit our hippie roots again. And take a look at Mother Nature and say, hey, you know what? If we just shift our values a little bit, we can fix all of these global issues. I haven't even started talking about water yet. But the forests are the water. The forests are the climate. The forests are the soils. They are the food on your plate. Those eggs and bacon that you had this morning for breakfast, if they're not from a factory farm, they're related to the forest. Even if they are from a factory farm, they're related to the forest. We're all forest creatures. Take a look at your fingers. Those were developed for working in a forest. Take a look at your eyes, your sense of smell, your ears, everything about us. We are the products of Mother Nature, and we're destroying her through a very poor investment culture. We're investing in the wrong stuff. So it's time to shift that over. So, yeah, take a look at our stuff. I'll stop there.
Okay. Still running. Yep, okay.